It's extraordinary, isn't it, that whichever way we look, the ITV company is dominating the news presentation in the UK, not the BBC. So this morning it was Sir Keir Starmer on Good Morning Britain. That's the thing with Richard, whatever his name is, Richard Madeley. Richard Madeley. How can I forget Richard Madeley? Richard Madeley. We were on a show together. It's extraordinary, but he is instantly forgettable, isn't he? Richard Madeley was interviewing Sir Keir Starmer, not terribly well, and Sir Keir Starmer was trying to pitch his plans for the NHS. He pointed out that his wife works for the NHS in a hospital. He said the NHS was on its knees. She said it was on its face. He wants to repair, to rebuild the NHS, to sort out the waiting lists, the 8 a.m. scramble to talk to the GP, building an NHS fit for the future, to set out his funding later. Well, it took him nearly 10 minutes to get even to that point. And then he talked about change and reform. And he targeted particularly three things: heart disease, cancer, and suicide, which suicide accounts for a huge number of deaths in young people. And he plans to prevent cancer and heart problems with better screening. Well, the problem is you can't have better screening if you can't get a scan. I know myself, it's very difficult to get a scan. It's very difficult to, you get worried. You think, I've been forgotten. I've been forgotten. Why have I not had my scan? In fact, I have a scan scheduled for September if it happens. And the question is whether or not he can recruit, first of all, and whether or not he can then pay, secondly, enough staff to do all this screening, probably in the community. He says he's going to do this by getting rid of the non-dom tax status and directly pay for NHS staff. I don't see how that will produce enough money, particularly when the NHS itself is over-bureaucratic and it's the bureaucracy which is running it down. If that bureaucracy was working effectively, that might be just about defensible. The problem is the bureaucracy is incompetent, and the people who are running that bureaucracy, the people staffing it, are incompetent. Now, how does a Labour government get rid of incompetent staff? I don't know how it does. I don't know how a Conservative government gets rid of incompetent staff. That is the problem with the NHS. The biggest problem with the NHS is the majority of money is going to people who are incompetent, who can't do their jobs, who get their bureaucracy mixed up, who don't communicate one hospital to another hospital, and the patients suffer. And by the time the patients recover, if they recover, it's too late to complain, or you don't realise what the complaint actually is, because you're not a professional, you're a patient. He wants to increase mental health support. Well, that, it's something which sounds good, but how do you do that? He then talked about his 5 missions. Well, quite rightly, Richard pointed out that nobody knows what these 5 missions are. I'll tell you what the 5 missions are: growth, clean energy, a fit NHS, safe streets, and opportunity. And why would the Labour Party have 5 pledges, 5 missions, when the Conservative Party has 5 missions? I think that's 10 commandments altogether. One for the right, one for the left, and nobody really knows what any of them are. We can't think of more than 3. 3 is the majority anybody can think of. That's why 3 is the rhetorical, blissful number. That's why we have a tricolon. That's why Julius Caesar, when he came to Britain, he didn't say, I've got 5 reasons to be joyful. No, he said, Veni, Vidi, Vici. I came, I saw, I conquered. He was succinct, and he was clear, and he was successful. I'm afraid I don't think Keir Starmer is any of those things. But then nor is Rishi Sunak. The problem is 5. 5 doesn't work. That's why there aren't 5 commandments. There are 10. Actually, there aren't 10 commandments. What it actually says in the Bible is 10 statements. That's where we get the word decalogue. 10 statements. There's no talk in the Bible of 10 commandments. But there's not 5. There's not 5. It's either 10 or it's 3 or it's 40. For goodness sake, get your act together, Keir Starmer. Get your act together, Rishi Sunak. Start doing some proper maths and do something that people can remember.